Deebo Samuel is now a Commander after getting shipped out of San Francisco. And guess what? That's just the first domino to fall. Here's some other shocking moves that are about to change everything in the NFL. This is a great time to be a fantasy football fan because you got the draft coming up, free agency about to kick off, but of course, there are a lot of trades that will also get made. So, which is the first major move you think is going to happen?
I think the first major move we're going to see is Sam Darnold, who I actually thought was going to be back with the Vikings, but now I'm having my doubts. I think he's going to end up a Tennessee Titan. I think the Titans are going to look at this and say, okay, we can get Sam Darnold, who's still a very young quarterback, who last year, prior to those last two games, showed signs that maybe he still has the potential to be a franchise QB. But what this is really going to allow the Titans to do after signing Sam Darnold in free agency is make a trade with the Giants. The Giants, I feel like, are going to do a Giants thing, and they're going to panic, right? They missed out on Matthew Stafford. Now they're going to miss out on Sam Darnold, and they're going to be panicked that the Browns are going to steal Cam Ward from them. So they're going to trade up to the number one pick to get Cam Ward, which means the Titans not only get Sam Darnold in free agency, but they then get to draft Travis Hunter at the number 3 pick. Maybe the best player, honestly, in this entire draft class. So they get potentially a franchise QB with Sam Darnold, and they also potentially get a franchise cornerback and a good wide receiver, depending on whatever Travis Hunter decides to do in the NFL in the same year. So I think Sam Darnold is going to be playing for the Titans next year, and the Giants are going to trade up and allow the Titans to also get Travis Hunter in this year's draft.
Well, you know what? I'm going to follow up on that because I agree. I do think that the Titans will be smart and probably will have a lot of offers to trade down. It makes sense for them, get more assets, especially because not everybody is sold on this year's QB class. And so if they are set with a veteran quarterback, they're going to need some help. I mean, let's face it, they need help at receiver anyways. So let's go add a guy like Chris Godwin, who may not be back with Tampa. He's a free agent. Tampa might just take a look at what Jalen McMillan did toward the end of last year when Godwin was gone and how the offense really just clicked and hummed just fine without him and think maybe we don't need to pay him as much as he's wanting. And the Patriots are a team that are going to go really hard after receivers, but the Titans probably need just as badly, almost as badly as the Patriots, and they will have more to offer because let's face it, the Patriots are not anywhere close to being a contender. And if the Titans do have high draft capital, maybe at least a serviceable quarterback in Sam Darnold, that might be more attractive to Godwin. So I think that they do try to get him because really they have Calvin Ridley and what else? It's time to admit Traylon Burks is a bust. Finally, there I said it. Nick Westbrook-Akine was their next best receiver. He's a free agent. No guarantee he even comes back. Tyler Boyd, yeah, that was a wasted contract for him. But look, they're going to need somebody significant. Godwin would fit that bill and kind of help along the process of building this into at least a respectable offense. There's a lot of big name receivers that could be on the move. I think you got one in mind.
Yeah, we know Davante Adams is certainly going to be on the move. He was just released by the Jets, so going to be playing on his third team, more than likely, in basically a year. And I think that team is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Davante Adams has already come out and said he would love to play for Mike Tomlin. Like, Mike Tomlin's a coach that he really respects, and I think Mike Tomlin would love to have a receiver like Davante Adams instead of these divas, right? He's had like nothing but divas. You go back, Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, just all these diva wide receivers. Mike Tomlin can be like, just give me the solid vet Davante Adams. And like, Davante Adams, sure, he's not one of the best wide receivers in the NFL anymore, but he's still a very good wide receiver. And maybe he can kind of help George Pickens, like rein him in a little bit and show him how to be a pro, show him, how to be a professional wide receiver and not be so much of a diva. So Davante Adams last year started as a Raider, ended as a Jet. I think this year he's going to start as a Steeler with Mike Tomlin.
All right, another receiver we're pretty sure is going to be on the move because he wants out of Seattle is DK Metcalf. So now the question is where? Where is he going to go? What's a team that really wants him? Needs a receiver? I think he might look good in silver and black. Let's have a reunion here with Pete Carroll, already there for the Raiders. And I said this on our predictions for free agency a couple of weeks ago. They need a quarterback. We know this. I think they go out and get Russ Wilson. Let's just form a trio here. Pete Carroll, DK Metcalf, Russell Wilson. It will be Seattle 2.0 in Las Vegas. Now, I really think that this could happen. The Russ thing, it may or may not happen. But DK Metcalf makes a lot of sense. This is a team that is starved for a receiver. No offense to Jacoby Myers, like he's solid, but he shouldn't be the alpha, the number one guy on an NFL offense, really. And yeah, Brock Bowers is great, maybe generational, but he's a tight end. There's only so many times you can throw it over and over to the tight end. They need to build something there in Vegas. DK Metcalf once out. Why not just do this, right? It makes sense on both sides. And the Raiders, they can afford him because right now they have the second most cap space and they've got some draft capital being as bad as they are. So that just seems to me like a natural fit. All right, now let's get back to quarterback. You got some interesting things going on in Atlanta.
Yeah, we're talking about players that could potentially be traded or will be traded this offseason. Everybody just expects Kirk Cousins. Well, they really expected him to get released. It doesn't sound like that's going to happen. Now they expect him to get traded, but it's sounding like that might not happen either. It sounds like the Falcons are kind of digging in their heels, and I guess they don't want to admit maybe that they made a mistake last year signing him to that big contract and immediately trading him away. I think whether Kirk Cousins likes it or not, he's going to start the season backing up Michael Penix Jr. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to be backing him up all season long. Maybe by the time the trade deadline comes around, the Falcons are finally like, okay. We relent. Let's trade you. But I don't think we see Kirk Cousins take a snap in week 1 in the NFL unless something happens to Michael Penix Jr. I really think it sounds like he's going to be their backup plan. And we saw last year they did this in reverse, right? Remember after they signed Cousins, everybody was shocked that they drafted Michael Penix Jr. Well, it kind of sort of worked out for them after, they had to bench Kirk Cousins. Now I think they're going to do it in reverse. They're going to start the season with Penix Jr. and say, hey, if he struggles or if something happens to him, at least we still have Kirk Cousins, and we don't have to admit the error of our ways. So, everybody expects Kirk Cousins, maybe the Jets, team like that, but I think he's going to be a Falcon next year, and I also think he's going to be a backup.
That would actually be kind of funny, but I can actually see that happening because I think you're onto something there. You know what? Speaking of regrets, it looks like San Francisco is regretting a couple of contracts they gave out to wide receivers. Debo, is already gone, and all they got back for him was a fifth round pick. And what about Brandon Ayuk? As soon as they gave him the bag that he was holding out for, he got hurt and missed the season. And so here we go. Are they going to get rid of Brandon Ayuk? Yeah, I think they actually are. And let's go back to a team I mentioned, not only needs a receiver desperately, but has the most money out there out of any NFL team to spend this offseason. It's the Patriots. Let's make it happen. Brandon Ayuk to New England. They need a playmaker. This was rumored. A lot of talk about maybe T. Higgins going there. I don't think T. Higgins goes anywhere. They tagged him, but also they want to keep him, and he probably wants to stay. Brandon Ayuk, I don't think they really want to keep him, not just because of the money now looking like a big mistake, but listen to what John Lynch, GM there, just recently said after the Debo trade, talking about the roster in general. Said, we need to get younger after going on and on about how old they were last year. Our draft class last year was a great move toward that. Who was their first round pick last year, if you remember? It was a wide receiver by the name of Ricky Pearsall. And he had, at the very end of the season, once he was finally healthy, a couple of big games. And they're seeing how they performed with Pearsall and Juwan Jennings, who both had monster ends to the season. And without Ayuk, and again, the same situation, they're going to say, hey, look, we have no problem admitting our mistake. We shouldn't have given him that contract. Let's move on, get younger, and rebuild. And that's exactly what they're going to probably do at the receiver position. Those are just some of the major moves that you might see coming up in the next few weeks. Free agency is here for the NFL, and we're going to be here the whole time with instant reaction. So stay tuned and subscribe if you haven't already.